Then there is the issue of the quorum of IEBC. On the question of quorum of IEBC, the appellants and the respondents in support of the appeal challenged the High Court findings that the IEBC was not quorate for purposes of its business, including the verification of signatures in support of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. For a start, the IEBC is an independent constitutional commission established pursuant to Chapter 15 of the 2010 Constitution. Article 250, Sub-Article 1 sets out the composition of an independent commission. It reads, each commission shall consist of at least 3, but not more than 9 members. On the other hand, Section 5 of the IEBC Act provides that the commission shall consist of a chairperson and 8 other members appointed in accordance with Article 250, Sub-Article 50 of the Constitution and the provision of this Act. What I would like to say as regards this issue, or my finding, is that the IEBC, as currently constituted with 3 members, cannot be said not to be constitutionally compliant. And the question that I ask myself, if with 3 members, the commission is constitutionally compliant, and it can continue to operate because it is constitutionally compliant. In circumstances like those, can one really say that for purposes of carrying out its deliberations, the members of a quorum in a meeting must be 5? In my view, I think the constitutional provisions take precedence. And if the commission, as currently constituted, is constitutionally compliant, it can carry out its mandate with the 3 members of the commission. I think it would be absurd to say that it must have, for it to be correct, there must be 5 members. I've also made comments on the 2 cases of Biwott, as well as the case decided by Mwita, as well as the one that was decided by Okwany. But additionally, it is my considered view that the issue of verification of signatures is not a matter requiring a policy decision. The functions of IEBC are spelled out in Section 4 of the Act, and they are numerous. In my respective view, the verification of signatures is not a matter that arises out of the resolution or decisions made by the commissioners at a meeting of the commission, but one dictated by the operation of the law, as the process of verification of signatures is not a policy decision to require the IEBC to be quorate. In my view, it cannot be said that in performing such mundane tasks as the continuous education of voters would require the commission to be quorate, more so bearing in mind that the commission has a secretariat that undertakes its day-to-day operations. I am therefore of the considered opinion that the verification of signatures was not null and void for lack of quorum, and neither was it a function that required a policy decision. Then there was the question of the role of IEBC in a popular initiative. In paragraph 733 of the impugned judgment, the High Court found that the IEBC's role include verification of signatures and not mere ascertainment of numbers of registered voters whose signatures accompany the popular initiative bill. It would follow that the IEBC would need some legal or regulatory framework to guide it in its operation. On the other hand, if the IEBC role is the venial administrative task of ascertaining numbers, then perchance no further legal or regulatory framework would be required. The court proceeded to define what verification is, and this is what they said. the only reasonable meaning of the term verify as used in Article 257(4) of the Constitution includes both the ascertainment of numbers and confirming the authenticity of the signature submitted. The role of IEBC is spelled out in Article 257 of the Constitution. In the matter before us, we were told that the IEBC carried out verification by removing names that did not have signatures. They also removed names that did not have the national identity cards or passport numbers. They removed duplicated numbers and asked the promoters to depone affidavits, to have affidavits deponing that the signatures were collected with the consent of the parties. I have in this judgment reproduced a format of the collection of signatures that was submitted by Honorable Junet Mohammed and Honorable Waweru to IEBC, and it was approved. And that format captured the following details. One had to include their name, their ID or passport number, their county, their constituency, their county assembly ward, the polling station, their mobile numbers, their email address, and then they also had to sign or to thumbprint. Article 257, Sub-Article 4 did not, in my view, envisage a forensic examination on the authenticity of the signatures, more so bearing in mind that IEBC does not have a repository of signatures. But even if it had, in my view, it would be a Herculean task to undertake. For instance, the verification would require that IEBC obtains non-signatures of those who appended their signatures to the initiative. The non-signatures would then be subjected to forensic investigation by handwriting experts. Given that the IEBC published the list of those said to have supported the initiative, what was so difficult for one to say that they did not append their signatures? In my view, to place near impossible demands on IEBC would, as it were, greatly cripple the operations of IEBC. On the question of continuous voter registration, the High Court found that there had been no evidence that the IEBC had sensitized citizens that there was continuous voter registration. It is this finding that led to declaration number 9 in their judgment, wherein the court declared that the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill cannot be subjected to a referendum before the IEBC carries out nationwide voter registration exercise. Mr. Morara Omoke, the 76th respondent, urged us inter alia that the IEBC could not conduct a referendum before conducting nationwide voter registration, as this would disenfranchise many voters. The IEBC, on the other hand, argued that it had been continually conducting voter registration at the constituency level. Article 88, Sub-Article 4 requires IEBC to undertake continuous registration of citizens as voters. Suffice to state that this is an ongoing process, and it is upon every Kenyan who attains the age of 18 to register as a voter. It is the same registered voters who vote in an election that also vote in a referendum. Indeed, the 1 million persons who support an initiative are registered voters. Further, there is a distinction between the time and place of an election vis-a-vis the time and place of a referendum in the 2010 Constitution provides for an election cycle. We know that elections are carried out after every five years. Not so when it comes to a referendum, as there is no defined time when a referendum is to be held. In my view, the fact that IEBC carries out continuous voter registration, it cannot be said that they fail to carry out nationwide voter registration when we know that the time and place of a referendum, unlike an election, is not known and cannot be defined with specificity. Then on the question of creation of new constitution, As regards the issue of creation of 70 new constituencies, in Declaration number 14, the High Court held that the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill is unconstitutional insofar as it proposed to predetermine the allocation of 70 more constituencies. It held it is unconstitutional for a Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill to direct